I truly believe we are witnessing a divide in the United States of America. I believe we are watching and seeing firsthand God dividing the wheat from the chaff. And you have to ask yourself, are you the wheat or are you the chaff? America is heading into perilous times. Make sure every one of you watching this is getting prepared. It's Sunday, August 18, 2019. It is good to be home back here in Palm Springs, California. I spent most of the week in Las Vegas, but in doing so, I had some time on my hands. I had some time to think, and one of the things I was thinking about, and please comment down below if you've experienced this same thing, and it is this. Have you noticed that the more awake that you become, the more that you become an independent, free-thinking human being, less reliant on the media to make up your decisions, to dictate your news, when you can rationally come to your own conclusions of what the news is without being brainwashed and told what the news is. When you can rationally make your own decision, think for yourself, as you walk closer to God as a human being, have you noticed that you become more isolated? And in many cases, you become more isolated from your family, your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors, and even your church. Now, there are many exceptions to the rule, but I'm speaking in general terms here. Even family members, when you become an independent, free-thinking human being, when you stand up for something, when you have an opinion on something that goes against the grain, you'll find that people all of a sudden don't want to be by you because you're different. And I think there's many reasons for this, because people get intimidated, they get scared of the truth. They don't want to hear the truth because it's scary. And most people put their hands in the truth, or their hands in the sand to avoid the truth, because many times the truth is scary. The truth is threatening. And many times it means that you may have to get involved in something, and most people don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to get involved. They don't want to put any skin in the game. They want everything to be easy. They want everything. They want their freedom. They want their rights. They want their liberty. They want all the benefits, but they never want to put any skin in the game. They don't want to get involved to defend any of their freedom or their rights. It's just easier that way, because it's scary when you actually have to stand up for something, when you actually have to fight for something. It becomes scary. Yet people just want to take all their freedom and rights, but never ever want to stand up and fight for it. And if we continue to think like that as a country, we will lose our freedom, we will lose our rights. You know, many people, again, cannot think for themselves. They need the media to dictate the news for them. They're so dumbed down and brainwashed. And when somebody can actually make their own educated opinion or decision, this intimidates a lot of people, because these are very weak-minded people. They're the herd. They do as they're told. When CNN or the liberal media tells them something, they just believe it. They never, ever question it. You know, we just see people who don't want to be judged. They don't want to be questioned. And so people would rather just accept the news, accept the way things are without getting involved. And again, the truth scares these people. And when you have no backbone, when you have no strength, you're not going to stand up for anything. You're not going to fight for anything. And we're seeing that today, where people are continue to be brainwashed and dumbed down, having no backbone. They cannot independently think for themselves. Perilous times are coming to America, and many of you watching this right now are aware of that, and you are preparing. And I believe that we do not have that much longer before we start seeing very, very big events unfolding in America. As I mentioned earlier, talking about the wheat and the chaff, today in America, we see so many things going on. You know, the good book says men shall be lovers of themselves. And when you watch what's happening in reality TV, the culture in America today, the narcissism, the hedonism, this is the chaff. We have weak pastors. We have false prophets in the churches. We have false pastors in the churches. Where are the churches today? People today are lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. And many pastors, these false prophets and false pastors in many of the churches here in America today are lovers of pleasure and not lovers of God. And they will be held accountable for what they are doing. You know, people in churches today, I find quite commonly that they like to justify their actions. They don't want to pick on anybody. They don't want to judge anybody. They don't want to speak about God's rule of law. They're accepting of everybody and everything like so many people today are. You have to understand that we are in a spiritual war here in America right now, and you have a side to pick. You're either going to be on the dark side or you're going to be on God's side. And if people and pastors and people are too scared to be criticized as being judgmental instead of observant or picking a side, then I feel very sorry for you. This is the time right now you better be picking your side and not being worried if you're a judgmental person, but worrying about if you're on God's side or the devil's side. I want to speak about what is currently happening financially here in America. But before we get to that, you have to understand, we all have to understand that this isn't just political, social, or financial. We are in a spiritual warfare of good versus evil here in America and across the globe right now. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. Are you going to be that someone? Ask yourself right now as an individual, are you really preparing? Are you preparing mentally, physically, spiritually? Are you preparing financially for what's coming? Something is coming. Most of you, 98% of you watching this video know something is coming because it's already started. You can feel it. You know it. And people in America are waking up and they know something is wrong. And you've got to ask yourself, what are you doing about it right now? Are you improving your life? Are you waking someone up? Are you improving somebody else's life? Are you distancing yourself from the wrong people? This is the time that we need to be surrounding ourselves with very good, strong people. You don't need druggies. You don't need drunks. You don't need dumbed down, brainwashed people who are in denial in your life. What you better have right now are very strong, self-sufficient people who can independently think and get things done. People who are awake and understand what is going on. You know the old saying, birds of a feather flock together. You better be flocking with the right people right now, because the lone wolf, I don't believe, are going to have a very good chance when we run into a very serious collapse here in America. We start seeing chaotic, violent times, violent crime, and all sorts of uprisings in America. Groups, strong groups that bond together, groups are going to be what gets through it. You cannot survive as a lone wolf. You need a very good, strong group, a team of people who have some sort of asset to contribute. Somebody that has a background in medical, somebody that understands security, somebody that knows how to cook or grow food. We've got to really think about the groups we hang out with and what do they have to offer. Are these good people? Do they bring something to the table? Are they an asset? Are they walking closer to God? Do they love this country? Or are they just dope smoking, druggies, drunks who are just living till tomorrow for the next party? Are these people who are just completely asleep? People who are just going to be accepting? People who would just get on a bus and go to a prison camp tomorrow. There's people that would do that right now, because that's what they're told to do. There will be people that just turn their guns in when the government tells them to. They're going to bow down and do as they're told. Is this the group you're hanging out with? Are these the members of your church? Or are you hanging out with independent, strong-willed Americans who are not going to allow this to happen, who are not going to bow down and just become a slave to the globalists or to the New World Order? You need to pick the type of people and groups that you're hanging out with, and you better do it really quick. If you are not of this world, you are going to face hatred. If you can think for yourself, make your own rational decision, if you believe in having the right to defend yourself instead of just relying on the police, if you believe in being your own central bank instead of relying on the globalist banks, if you question things that your media tells you, if you question what the government tells you, people are going to condemn you. They'll make fun of you. They're going to say that you're paranoid, that there's something wrong with you. When in reality, there's something wrong with these people. How can a human being not question what their own government is doing? How can a human being not question what the media, the news media, is telling them when you know damn right they're lying to you? Yet, they want to make you feel like there's something wrong with you. We can never accept that. We've got to stand up for what is right. And as it says in the last days, what's right is wrong and what's wrong will be right. And you can see how they're trying to reverse this. They're trying to make the good American to be the bad American. As I said earlier, I just returned from Las Vegas. And look, the resorts, the casinos, they're beautiful. It's absolutely amazing how big, how beautiful. They're these giant palaces that man can make. It's incredible. It's really mind-blowing. But while in Vegas, I observed things. And again, this isn't judging. These are observations. Talking about wheat and chaff, there is lots of chaff in Las Vegas. Las Vegas has a few industries that it relies on. And one of them is drugs. Another one is prostitution. Another one is pornography. Another one is gambling. And all of these can be very, very addictive. Many of these have caused disasters in people's personal lives. And it's really, the other side of Vegas that most people don't see. You see the beautiful people, you see the shiny lights, you hear the music, and you are in the devil's playground. It looks beautiful, bright and shiny, but behind the scenes, the devil is running loose, and he is devouring people every minute of the day in Las Vegas. People will sell their soul, and they do sell their soul for money in Vegas. People have gambled their entire life savings away at casinos in Vegas. They've gambled their marriages away in Vegas. Prostitution runs rampant. Pornography runs rampant. Drugs run rampant. It is the devil's playground. I came out of a restaurant on one of the nights, and there were two gentlemen between 75 and 80 years old. And looked like they probably had some dough. And they were with two young ladies, maybe 21, 22 years old. One of them looked like she had already had some miles on her. And the other one looked like she just got off the bus. And it's very obvious what's going on here. It's all over Vegas. But when you look at these two young ladies, somebody's kids, this is now what they've chosen to do for a living. This is how they're going to survive. This is how they're going to pay the bills, by associating with 80-year-old men. And why I bring that up is because the decisions you make today, they're going to affect your life tomorrow. And it's so important that we really critically think about the decisions we are making right now, our preparations right now, because they are going to affect our lives tomorrow. So make the right decisions. Don't sell out to the devil. Don't sell your soul for $1, because tomorrow you will pay for it. I want to talk a little bit now about the U.S. economy. This was on the Washington Post. And again, make sure you do your due diligence. Don't listen to me. Do your own homework. Washington Post. American consumers are holding up the global economy, but for how long? ? And there was another article that came out yesterday on CNBC. Americans are more in debt than ever, experts say. Money disorders may be to blame. So here we have in the Washington Post, consumers are holding up the global economy, and then CNBC is reporting that Americans have more debt than ever. This should concern every one of you. And the question is, how long will the consumer hold up this economy? When the average American has $38,000 in debt, a quarter of that debt comes from credit card charges. Consumer debt is at $4 trillion. And as we start seeing unemployment rising, inflation rising, as we continue to see the economy slow down, the consumer is not going to be able to hold up the U.S. economy. It's absolutely unsustainable. The consumer is in very, very big trouble because let's face it, if the consumer didn't have credit cards, this economy would already be over. How do you think, I mean, people from last Christmas still haven't paid off their, many people have not paid off their credit cards from last Christmas. And what will they do? They'll run out and continue to run the cards up this December for Christmas when they haven't even paid off last Christmas's credit card. This is how America is functioning as a country right now. This is what we are dependent on, the consumer, to keep running up credit, to keep kicking this can down the road, keep this economy propped up. Next domino to fall, this is on Zero Hedge. U.S. auto sector, new prices plunge in July. The auto sector is bleeding. It's in big trouble. You can now finance a car up to 8 years. We're seeing subprime loans. And it's not getting any better in the auto industry. So with 8-year finance terms, with subprime loans, the auto business is literally in a depression right now. The consumer is pulling back, demand is slowing, inventory is piling up. And whether I'm in Orange County, whether I'm in Nevada, whether I'm out here in Riverside County, these car lots, the inventory is massive. It is a sea of cars wherever I go. And it's just more bad news for this economy. And what's going to happen next is production of these automobiles will slow. And with slower production means more layoffs, less hours, and factory closings. Expect to see that. Here's an article on wolfstreet.com. This just came out in the last day. Truck, rail, air, and barge fell 5.9% in July 2019 compared to July 2018. 6% plunge this May, we witnessed. These July and May declines are the steepest since the financial crisis. Railroads and trucking company rates have started to fall. And if you talk about the trucking industry, it's in a hardcore recession right now. Class 8 truck orders fall by 81% in July. This is wolfstreet.com. Don't believe me. Do your own homework. Do your own due diligence. Read these things for yourself. Class 8 truck orders fall by 81% in July. Navistar Trucking Company cuts production for Class 5, 6, and 7 trucks. These are medium-duty trucks. They're cutting production. Inventory of unsold medium-duty trucks surged 30% in June. Orders fell 20% in June. This is from the company Navistar. But truck orders, Class 8 truck orders across the board for all companies, 81% down in July. I watched an interview on CNBC this morning, and it was recorded a few days ago, and they were interviewing Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio, who manages one of the biggest hedge funds in the entire world, pretty smart guy. He said that he believed that there is a 40% chance that we will be in a recession before the next election. Now, that's not 80, 90, or 100% chance. He said 40, which is still a pretty good sized number. But ask yourself this. If you jump out of an airplane and there was a 40% chance that your chute was not going to open, would you jump out of that airplane? The answer to that is no. There's nobody out there that would say they would jump out of that airplane. 40% is a substantial number. Nobody's jumping out of an airplane with a 40% chance that their parachute's not going to open. So why are you not preparing for this collapse right now? It's coming. It doesn't matter if it's 40%, because if it doesn't happen before the election, it's going to happen after the election, and that's going to be a 100% chance. So take every day as an opportunity and be preparing. He also said in the interview, a turn for the worse is coming. Excess capacity and political issues. Recession is coming. You will see greater rate cuts coming as the world slows down. So as I see rate cuts, I see money printing, I see devaluation of currencies, and I see gold and silver prices going up. So I also see that this is a warning sign that we are heading into very, very bad times in America. Let's face it, if we were in good times, we'd be doing the opposite. We're not in good times. We're going to be cutting rates and we're going to be printing more money. This is telling you we're heading into dark times. We have political issues here, we have social issues here, and we have financial issues here. We have a perfect storm, not including a trade war with China, not including all the chaos we're seeing in different parts of the world, Hong Kong, Venezuela. There's just so much going on. We've never seen a time like this in our lifetime. Prepare accordingly. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Before I go, I want to leave you with this. If you truly believe the central banks have everything under control, continue to stack paper, whether that be stocks, bonds, cash, what have you. Continue to stack paper. If you believe we are going to continue to see more volatility, more monetary madness, that we're going to see 0% interest rates and negative percent interest rates, if you believe that the central banks do not have everything under control, continue to stack gold, continue to stack silver. I got a very interesting comment this afternoon by Gabrielle. She said this, and I'm going to end it right here because it's simple, it's brilliant, and it's just the truth. She said this: healthy economies don't need stimulus and rate cuts. Healthy economies stand on their own. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.